As I play the Half-Life games and listen to the background tracks, it changes my current emotion and makes me feel a different way. It puts me into a different mindset almost. Music can do this, but why and how? To answer these questions, we need to know how the brain works. So, without further ado, this video is everyone should know how their own brain works. Neurons fire in specific patterns to create something, like an image. Music also can be remembered like this. Neurons strengthen as you hear the same music, which will allow you to remember your favorite guitar riff or the entire song. Now, I did oversimplify this a lot, and I do recommend you go out to look this information up. If you do find a correction to make, post it in the comments. So, how does all this really make you feel emotions? According to Pfizer.com, which has compiled sources into a paper, and I quote, "Listening to or making music increases blood flow to the brain regions that generate and control emotions. The limbic system, which is involved in processing emotions and controlling memory, lights up when our ears perceive music." End quote. Also, according to that website, music has a pain-relieving property. This is caused by music distracting the brain. So, according to the previous source, we mainly feel emotions from music because of the limbic system in the brain. Another possibility is brainwaves and neurons syncing their firing rate to associate moods. According to InsideScience.org, and I quote a whole paragraph, another theory has it that the beat of rhythms and the frequency of sound waves actually drive the oscillations of neurons in the brain. Different groups of neurons synchronize their firing at different rates, some slower, around 1 to 5 times a second, others closer to 20 times a second. And different rates are associated with different mood states. Although auditory stimulation music could drive neurons to fire at a specific rate, as though our brains are resonating to a beat, that sets our overall mood. End quote. That was a long quote, wasn't it? To make the paragraph short, a possible reason we feel emotions from music is neurons firing faster or slower. Also, as a fun fact, did you know music has health effects? There are over a dozen different effects music can have, so I'll list the 10 that I found on the internet. Now, I'm not going to link each individual source because I would have too many links. Here's a compiled list of 10 things music can do. 1. Reduce stress. 2. Improve sleep. 3. Increases endurance. 4. Reduce depression. 5. Helps people eat less. 6. Increases happiness. 7. Stimulates memories. 8. Releases endorphins. 9. Boosts immune system. 10. Reduced anxiety. There are a few believable ones on the list, but please, I encourage you to fact check this. Also, singing in a choir does have an impact on cancer. You can find the full article on ecancer.org. It will also be in the description. Another thing I found on the Wikipedia page is that music can change a person's perception on what sexy is for some odd reason. But there is no source to verify this information. I do gotta say though that this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. Now that the question has been answered in a satisfactory manner, for me at least, we'll move on to section 2. For this first example, I'll show you how Half-Life 2 and its episodes uses its music. Before we get into anything upbeat or intense, let's talk about the more lonely feeling tracks. Lab Practicum is a good track to cover for a calm and slow track. Have a listen. It sounds lonely, doesn't it? It's It's devoid of a beat, and there's nothing to really resonate to. Most other tracks in the game have a beat to go along with it. You can see the lack of beat in the audio spectrum as the whole thing doesn't lift at points, well, across the whole thing. The most memorable time this plays, as the track plays many times throughout the game, is on a bridge with trains going over it in Chapter Highway 17. This track, at the moment, can really make the player realize how lonely the world is after the alien force known as the Combine has taken control. Next, I would like to show you one last track, but this time from Half-Life 2 Episode 2, titled Last Legs. Sounds intense? Well, that's the purpose of it. It plays at the end of the game, where the climax of the story is. This part of the game has a lot of combat, and you will have close calls. That makes this track communicate its message, and invoke a powerful and intense feeling among the player. This creates a good atmosphere that games could not make directly. For the next example, I'd like to look at Lethal Company, which is part of the horror genre. The graphics look like it's from the PlayStation 1, but that adds on to the horror. The very low ambient upbeat music adds a sense of relief from the horrors inside the facility as you collect scrap. Here's a track called Ambient Music 1. It's slow, with not much going on in the music, which from earlier in the video was discussed that slow tempos can cause a calming effect. This will calm you down a little bit after you witness your friend's death. I don't really think I want to cover this section. Yeah, I'll skip it. For the final part of this video, I think it's time to return to the game that has sold the most copies in history, Wii Sports. I'm joking, of course, it's Minecraft. I'll be talking about the older versions of the game, since the newer versions have been subpar, in my opinion. Here's Subwoofer Lullaby. It's really relaxing. It makes me feel slightly sleepy and nostalgic. I've only been playing the game since the beginning of 2012, back on like Pocket Edition Alpha. So, it does involve that nostalgia. Its beats per minute isn't really that high, so you're going to get a really slow, nice, calm thing. Plus the piano adds on top of that, so it adds a calming effect altogether, which will, well, supports the music. That's all I got here. This script is kind of long. Remember to do your own research and not take everything as I say as complete fact. Alright, well, that's it.